3, 2, 1.
Here we go!
Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Texas Private School Podcast, the Week 7 preview. As always, I am one half of your hosting crew, Wes Tolleson, joining you from the heart of Dallas, Texas. Walker Lott, my Minute Maid aficionado, joins you from College Station, the home of all things good and pure. Is that Minute Maid? Did I get that right?
That is absolutely Minute Maid, but we do not support Minute Maid for the next couple months because that is the home of the Astros. And I don't care if we have some Astro fans on this pod. We're Rangers to the day we die. Beat the the Rays tomorrow, and hopefully by the time we play this, we're already in the next round.
Yeah, hopefully so. By the way, all of you Astros fans that are like gloating that the Rangers celebrated too early and were popping bottles and that the Astros handled it like they've been there before. Grow up. That's garbage. That's the stupidest thing 100%. I've ever seen. They were out in sorry, I've been on Twitter way too much.
Go for it. I like it.
No, it's ridiculous. It's the most Houston thing I've ever seen. Sorry, had to get that off my chest. I'm a born and bred Rangers fan, but this isn't the Texas Rangers podcast. This is the Texas Private School Podcast. Walker Lott, fantastic action in the past week. Your thoughts on the overall landscape before we dive into it?
Yeah, it was a good week, guys. Great week. Has some great matchups, some rivalries, some good getting into the district matchups. Some of the it's a good week, man. And I'm excited to keep going. And let's keep it rolling.
Absolutely. Also, before we get into it, I'm gonna bring this little bit back because I think it's fun. I'm gonna give somebody a chance to win a free TXPS media hat like you see us rocking all the time. And it goes back to music because I collect records. I love music. If you see that little album, if I can get my finger, there we go. If you see that little album right there, if any of you can name what that album is, I will send you a free TXPS media hat of your choosing. Well, there's only one, so you don't really get a choice. But Walker Lott, any stab at what that album could possibly be?
Can you give me a genre?
Rock, kind of.
Ooh, I honestly, no, I'm not gonna guess because then I'll say a guess and everyone will like chirp me for saying a guess and they're gonna be like, "Oh, that wasn't real rock, man."
I don't think anyone is gonna be able to get that. It is about as obscure gets. But any guess of the era it might be?
90s. Whoa.
Is there a little thumbs up thing on my?
Yeah.
Okay, Zoom is wilding out. Am I gone now?
I can't see you.
Okay, I'm going to. Okay, there we go. Okay. Okay. Apparently, Zoom's tracking my motions. Anyways.
Oh, it's a setting in reactions. There you go, guys.
Okay, well, I need to disable that. I'm finally getting outsmarted by technology. I'm getting old now. But all that being said, guess the name of that album, get a free TXPS media hat. I think it's a fun time for everyone. That being said, launching straight into the pick records, Walker, you went 15-4 last week for a grand total of 85-26 on the season. I went 12-7. I am 82-29. I initiate a 3-game gap between the two of us. Horrendous week on my part. 12-7 is just inexcusable getting this close to district. I will say no more because it'll upset me. Walker Lott, you had a great week at 15-4. I mean, your thoughts on taking a large lead. 3 games is big at this point in the season.
Yeah, the Fort Worth schools helped me out this week, man. Covenant Christian won, Southwest Christian, and Temple Christian all won this week. And 817 helped me gain a 3-game lead. So shout out to the 817 schools. They're the real ones.
Yeah, that's how it goes. Can't say much. Just gotta get back in the lab. Gotta do some more transitive property analysis and get right. Is how it goes. But before we recap our individual games, we will first launch into our 1 sentence per game segment that we do every week now. So, you'll look at the beautiful TXPS media scoreboard orchestrated by Ryan Schroeder every week. We will not take a stab at the 5 games on the left because we will review those more in depth. But we will start with Lubbock Christian blanking Sacred Heart 48-0. At least it wasn't by 96.
It just said, that is not what I expected from Munster. I wonder how Serensky is doing.
Good point. Temple Christian beats Mercy Culture Prep 48-18. Need John Raybuck.
This is how the team looks without John Raybuck. You hate to see it.
Sad to see. Covenant Christian beats McKinney Christian 34-10. Will McKinney ever get back right?
We might need to start thinking about Covenant as one of the top teams in Division 3.
That's a really good point. Austin Regents beats Victoria St. Joseph's 55-7. Business as usual. D3 down or 3 down. I don't know.
Yeah. Get Regents out of that district, like we've been saying for the past 2 weeks.
I think that's going to be my one sentence for Regents for the foreseeable future here. It's insane. Along the same lines, First Baptist beats Waco Riker 57-7. Potentially the best receiving core in the state.
Yeah, and the offense is just completely dominant, and it is not slowing down.
St. Dominic Savio beats Central Texas Christian 36-25. Shout out Leighton Riviere. Love the Savio team. Also, we've been pronouncing Tabor Tyson's name wrong. We got a DM about that. I think it's Tabor, not Tubor.
Yeah. That's a great win for Savio. I still think Central Texas Christian is going to have a good rest of the year.
Absolutely. Midland Christian beats Bishop Lynch 32-27. Midland always proves me wrong.
The West Texas grit does not slow down and it is tougher than most people. Just impressive win.
Absolutely. St. Michael's beats San Antonio TMI 14-7. Good for St. Michael's. Stout defensive effort.
Wow, that is a close game. That is crazy to see how far St. Michael's has come from last year to this year. That's crazy.
Argyle Liberty beats Frisco Legacy 52-0. Unbeaten's only on paper.
Yeah. The strength of schedule is different between the two teams, and it showed today.
San Antonio Christian beats Brownsville St. Joseph's 21-20. Wow. Great for San Antonio Christian. St. Joseph ?
Yeah, shout out. That's a big win for San Antonio Christian. Shout out to Talon Lewin and company. Big win.
Yeah, absolutely. Legacy Prep beats Brazos Christian 42-28. Brazos Christian much farther back than we thought this year.
No doubt. I guess the 1 week I saw Legacy Prep, the offense was just a little slow, but that offense keeps firing.
Absolutely. Shiner St. Paul edges Brentwood Christian 28-27. Great win for Shiner St. Paul. The run attack still alive and well.
Yeah, it's a big win for Shiner after a year that they looked that they aren't themselves. They're showing it later in the season that they're still the king Division 4 in the South so far, at least.
Absolutely. Hollisville Sacred Heart beats Bay Area Christian 35-13. Shout out to Nick Angerstein, punter as well as wide receiver. Big win.
Sacred Heart is coming for the crown of being now the true king of Division 4 in the South.
Absolutely. Punter and kicker, my fault. I can't compartmentalize him into only one thing. Prestonwood beats Bishop Dunn 49-7. Great win for Prestonwood. Takes care of business. Lineman in Bishop Dunn now.
Yeah. Hopefully Prestonwood Christian is coming into her own because I would love a good matchup in district against Parish.
Absolutely. Hyde Park destroys St. Anthony 66-0. Don't know how much you can extrapolate from this one.
Shout out to Carter Braw for committing to Tulsa, man. Good for you. Congratulations to the tight end over the best tight end in all of TXPS.
Making up for the scoreboard, Trinity Valley actually beat Oak Ridge. We got that one wrong, which would have made for a much more interesting one sentence. But Trinity Valley beats Oak Ridge. Back on track, going to be an incredible matchup in Dallas if both teams can take care of business.
100%. They're on a war path, like we said last week, a 63-14 win for Trinity Valley.
John Cooper beats Assertion 42-31. John Cooper starting to get back to form in 3A. You love to see it.
The young guys are earning their stripes, and they're playing pretty good football right now. Excited to see the rest of the year.
Houston Christian beats Green Hill 54-9. The train keeps on rolling. Gonna be a fun battle here in 3A.
Right now, the best team in 3A is showing it week in and week out.
St. John's beats St. Mark's 49-7. One of the best offenses in private school with a huge matchup this week.
Yeah, that is how you want to set the tone going into this week. Good win for St. John's.
And now we will have a minute with the interns.
Hi, I'm Waverly West, a Texas private school media intern out of Brazos Christian School, and I'm going to be recapping their Week 6 game versus Legacy Prep Christian Academy. In the first half, it was all Brazos Christian. Their offense was operating well, and their defense was playing lights out, which led to a halftime score of 21-7 in favor of Brazos Christian. Going into the fourth quarter, it was 28-21, still with Brazos Christian leading, but then Legacy Prep scored 21 unanswered points, the last of which came when Brazos Christian was down 7 with less than a minute left with a chance to tie the game up, but Legacy Prep's Wyatt Francis came in clutch with a game-ending pick 6. Legacy Prep ended up winning the game 42-28. Their quarterback Wyatt Francis threw for 336 yards, while Brazos Christian's defensive unit had 5 sacks and 8 tackles for loss. That's all for now. Thanks for watching.
Moving on into the Week 5 recap, starting with Concordia Lutheran at the Woodlands Christian Academy. Actually, this is the Week 6 recap. I have that wrong on the spread. But Tanner Huckfeld throws for 363 yards and 4 touchdowns as Concordia Lutheran knocks off the Woodlands Christian Academy 51-37. Reese Kutter goes for 124 yards and 2 touchdowns as Lou Lamar and Luke Cohen both grab touchdowns as well. Cohen also blocks a punt, which was recovered by Connor Reynard en route to a massive win for Concordia. So, Walker, as we mentioned, first of all, I think this was a great pick by us. Concordia Lutheran, we've traditionally had down in Division I, and going against a team in the Woodlands Christian Academy that might be a little down right now, but usually they're a formidable opponent in Division II. It's a huge win for Concordia Lutheran. Your thoughts on their output here?
Yeah, it's a big win for Concordia. They might win a couple games this year, man. I'm excited for it, and I'm excited to see how they do in district because with the team they have a couple guys and Huckfeld dealing like he is right now. I'm excited for this, man. They have a good squad, and I'm gonna just leave it with a meme that was sent to us to there as you gotta believe. You gotta believe. So
I mentioned on the Twitter space on Friday, much to Ryan Schroeder's chagrin, he does not like whenever I kind of like take these teams and adopt them as my own, as I already have Grace, and I kind of did it with St. Pius in the past. I did it with Coram Deo last year, even though Coram Deo has made a hard pivot against me, which, for good reason. But I might do that with Concordia Lutheran as well. I love Tanner Huckfeld. I love the engagement that we got from their fan account. It's fantastic. So I will be rooting for Concordia Lutheran through the rest of the season. Shout out for a big win here last week. Moving into the next game, ESD at Bellaire Episcopal, and 3 touchdowns from Carson Gordon and 3 from Brandon Thomas propel Episcopal to a monster 42-9 win to open district play. Junior Brooks Edwards also snagged a pick 6 as the EHS defense has been stout on the season, allowing less than 10 points per game, as well as pitching 2 shutouts. Walker, ESD was no pushover at all. They absolutely destroyed Grapevine Faith. They have some good wins on the season. This is less, I think, a testament to ESD being down and more so saying that EHS is just on a warpath this season. What do you think about the validity of that statement?
Yeah, when we picked the game last year, I kind of said that Bellaire Episcopal was going to kind of set the tone for the rest of, SBC and how they were going to dominate this year. And this is how you do it. ESD is a really good squad, and they've had a good, like you said, a good couple wins to start the season. And, we talk a lot about Carson Gordon and BJ Thomas and the rest of those guys in the offense, but you really have to give credit to this defense. Even when they were bad the past, couple years ago, the defense was always so dominant, and that just is a credit to the coaching staff over there and the players they have now. These past couple, in the classes they have right now, man, they are loaded with talent on pretty much every position level. So from DB to linebacker to defensive line, they are ready to go and they play dominantly. So shout out to Bellaire Episcopal, man. And this is going to be a fun one this Friday night.
Absolutely. Shout out Bellaire Episcopal. Shout out the defense. Just fantastic effort from them. Moving on into the next game, St. Thomas at Kinkaid. Kinkaid led this one at the half, but St. Thomas ultimately pulls away to win 28-13. Offensively, Vanderbilt commit Johan Cardenas carried the load for the Eagles with 160 yards on the ground, along with 2 touchdowns. Yep. Dante Lewis also added 200 all-purpose yards and 2 tutties, tossing a score to Larry Benton III. Senior Dominic Ori comes up with 2 sacks, and Tyler Day hosts 14 tackles as the St. Thomas defense comes up big to secure this win. Walker, I'll be honest, when we got that text from our analyst Jack Klosek at halftime saying Kinkaid was up, I got incredibly scared. I could see the future. I could see Coach Larned adding us on Twitter with another Yellowstone gif. I could see everyone just flipping on us because that's what Kinkaid does. Kinkaid goes into these games against bigger, more talented on paper opponents, and they find a way to win. They almost did that here, but ultimately the talent on St. Thomas really just won the game. Your thoughts on St. Thomas getting a big win here and a trap spot for sure?
Yeah, big win for St. Thomas. The offense did what they needed to do. I still think it's crazy. They put up 28 points, but Dante added 200 all-purpose yards and 2 touchdowns with Johan doing his thing. I think that's a good win for St. Thomas against a defense that we have to give credit to. Holding St. Thomas to only 28 points is a win in my book. Like that's huge for that Kinkaid defense. And I think that's going to shock a lot of people when it comes into district and other games, because if they can hold a St. Thomas offense to 28, it's going to be intriguing to see how they do against a team like St. John's or EHS. Games like that, those offenses for the other teams are going to have to come to play.
I know. I think Kinkaid is primed to throw an absolute wrench into this entire SBC 4A. We always mention how chaotic SBC 4A gets once we get into district play, and I think this year will be no exception. I'm incredibly excited to see what happens. But that being said, Walker, we will now move on to a game in which you were at Trinity Christian Addison at Southwest Christian. I know you were exceptionally happy with the result in this one. Your thoughts on the game?
Yeah, man, the Eagles didn't let me down, and the Division II team beat the Division I team 17-14, a close one. And it was honestly the battle of the defenses. It was just a defensive heavy matchup, and sometimes that's so much fun to watch. Both offenses really couldn't get going. With the offense for SES, they run a run heavy offense with every single player basically right next to the line, and they just run the ball. And on the other side, Aiden Mills and the rest of the offense just couldn't get it going. The defense for SES came to play, and I think that's at the first of it. We'll definitely talk about the defensive line led by J.R. Stegall, the 2024 defensive lineman, and also 2026 defensive lineman DJ Beasley. Those two guys, man, exceptional. I would have to look at it a little bit more, but I might make the case for those two being the best duo defensive linemen in that district. And that's a very talented district. Those guys are impressive, man. And they don't stop. And like I was telling them, when they play to their level and not to everyone else's level, that is when they're at their best. And they're dominant, man. DJ Beasley is a true Division I prospect. He had multiple forced fumble, multiple TFLs. He's an athletic freak at like 6'1.5", 6'2", very quick and athletic off the line of scrimmage. He was just impressive, man. Very, very impressive guy. J.R. Stegall, I think, is another Division I prospect. If any coaches are out there have not watched his film, please do. He's quick off the line. He's athletic. He's big and he's strong. And he's going to be a great interior defensive lineman for anyone that needs him. On the other side, guys like Blaine Street, the new incoming transfer this year, is a great, great player. Had a crucial forced fumble in the fourth quarter and multiple stops. That's the thing also about this SES defense that I want to give credit to. There are multiple times where they were inside the side of the field to like in the red zone, and SES just made plays. Missed field goal by TCA, forced fumble at like the 15. They just made plays to keep themselves to keep TCA from scoring. You just got to give credit to them. Max McCarroll was another great player on the defensive side of the ball, making tackles, making plays, being where he needs to be. He was crucial for their win. And a guy who really stood out to me on the offensive side of the ball was 2026 running back Bork Toller. He's a younger brother of a guy I went to high school with, and I didn't know who it was. And then he went out there and he was like, yeah, that's my little bro. And I went, oh my gosh. It's just crazy going back to your alma mater and being like, guys you went to high school with, it's like they're brothers. So it's just crazy. Anyways, because now what's crazy, Wes, is like the seniors are now, there were 7th graders when we were seniors. That's crazy.
I've done that math before and it just keeps getting worse and worse.
It's crazy, man. But anyways, guy had he's strong. Standing at 6'1" as a sophomore. He's fast, he's athletic, and he's strong and he runs hard. And the big score of the night to get it to get 7 points on the board. He had an 85-yard touchdown run, also other big runs throughout the game. He's going to be definitely one to watch. He's one of the better athletes in that 26 class in that district and in Division II. He's going to be a good player for years to come. Wyatt Averhoff was another big player. Wilson Jones, Caleb Corlin on the defensive line. Shout out our TXPS intern. They just have a good squad, man. And at the end of the day, they're gonna make some people very anxious going into some games like All Saints and Liberty, because they just play tough, they play gritty, and they just play mean and physical, and that's what is going to win them in games and surprise a lot of people. So I'm very impressed with this team. Coach Dixon has a great team over there, and I'm excited for the future of our SES Eagles. On the other side, TCA has the guys. The offensive lines, they looked like looking at them, like they looked impressive. A couple big dudes, and it's going to be impressive, man. I just don't know. It's just interesting, man. You should beat, like, a TCA team should beat a team like SES, right? Because they are the bigger team. And if you want any shot at beating a team like Bishop Lynch or Nolan or other teams like that, you're going to have to beat teams like this. So hopefully it's a wake-up call for them and they can win a couple games in district, which we kind of believe they could. It's just going to be an interesting one. But I want to give a credit to 2025 linebacker Colton Cook. He had 20 tackles on the game, which was a school record. And that's just impressive, man. They have a good squad over there, and I'm excited to see them grow.
Yeah, absolutely. To follow up on that, I will ask, because SCS moves into a murderer's row after this week, or they're on a bye this week, but next week they go, it's versus All Saints at Liberty Christian versus Fort Worth Christian at Midland. Obviously an impressive outing here. How do you see them faring in an absolutely stacked District 1?
In my opinion, right, I think they have All Saints at home, and I really love that. They get a bye right now this next week, and they have to play All Saints at home. And I personally, SCS is one of the best play environments. I'm not even lying. I was back in the day getting the crowd hype. When it's juiced and it's juiced up, it's a fun time, man. And I think when you get the crowd into it, it's at home, and they play mean, fast, and physical. I think this SCS team can maybe punch All Saints in the mouth and kind of maybe shock them a little bit. Liberty at Liberty too. I don't know about that one. I think Liberty is showing they're the best team in the state for a reason. So I'm not going to be too biased in saying I think they have a chance there. But I think they beat Fort Worth Christian, especially they have them at home. Midland is going to be an interesting one because they have to take the bus right out there. But I'm not trying to be biased. I really do think if they hit them in the mouth, in Midland and All Saints in the mouth, there could be a chance that, SCS could wind up in that second spot this year in District 1. But also I could see them being that, third place team in that district as well. So or third or fourth place team in that district. So it's going to be interesting to watch. I think SCS has the talent and a couple guys to do it. I don't know if any other team has a dynamic duo on the defensive line to cause chaos like SCS does. So if those guys, JR and DJ, play at their strengths, and the guys around them on the defensive side, if their defense holds them in games, you never know, man. You never know.
Yeah, absolutely. I think all that's correct. I think SCS has a great chance to go out and maybe finish second or third in that district, which would be huge for them. I'm really excited to see how the Eagles perform moving through the season. But that being said, we will move on to the last game we're going to recap. Fort Worth Christian at Dallas Christian, a game that I was at covering. Fort Worth Christian will not be receiving the keys to my house this year as DC stomps the Cardinals 58-16. Jaden Davis has a monster day at the office, going for 4 touchdowns as the senior running back is finally finding his role for the Chargers in a big way. Listen, Speedy Nettles is absolutely ridiculous. 2 kick return touchdowns, an absolute earhole sack. He can literally make plays from any position on the field. That is not a hyperbole. You line Speedy up anywhere on the field, he will make plays, I guarantee you. There's a high probability that he's the best player in the state. I remember some DC fans were in my mentions last year, I think early last year, and they were like, Speedy Nettles is the best player in the state. And I was like, dude, you're crazy. I was like, I know y'all are like juiced about your own guys, but that's kind of a crazy take. It might not be. After watching him, I don't know if there's a single guy that pops off the page as much as him. It is ridiculous. Also, Luke Carney has made tremendous strides as a passer. And that's not even to say that he started out as a mediocre or a bad passer. He started out good, and just the balls that he's throwing at this point in the year is still only a young junior. It's ridiculous. DC has a wealth of assets, and it's crazy to see them doing this against D2 teams, and now what they're going to do against D3 teams. It's honestly just very funny. Chris Scott and DJ Lampkins are also monsters for this DC defense. Chris Scott, just recently coming back from ACL injury, looks great. They're working him into the offense. DJ Lampkins is also a monster. I can say that about almost every guy that lines up at any position for the Chargers. I'm a broken record. It's just absolutely overwhelming. Some Cardinals were impressive in the loss, however. Quarterback Luke Dodd made some really, really nice throws, and that's not a given against DC, considering how much pressure you're usually under. He looked very good. Also, for Fourth Christian, Cade Crawford made some fantastic catches. He looked very, very good. He went out with an injury, I think, around the second quarter. I don't remember if he returned. If he didn't, hoping all the best to him and a speedy recovery, but he is a dude for this Cardinal squad. Look for him to make big plays along with Dodd as we move into district play. Walker Lott, DC just keeps on rolling. Your thoughts on them taking care of business at Wheeler Field?
Yeah, that's a good win for DC. Always beating a rival after losing to them last year is always huge. And shout out to DC, getting the job done here. We're going to get you the keys to Wes's house. We will have that to you by spring ball of next year. Be on the lookout for that. It will be done. Did you ever get your keys this game? Did it ever get to you?
No, I didn't. I felt like it would be inappropriate to go hound the Fort Worth Christian sideline after a running clock and be like, hey, where are my keys at? I feel like that's a good way to get slapped.
Understandable. Absolutely the right decision. But yeah, good win. I'm excited to see how Jaden Davis comes into this team and keeps developing into a star player that he is. And you said the rest. I would love to ask you about Tucker Ashford, a guy who I'm really high on. How did you think about him in this game?
He looked good. He caught some balls from Dodd, if I remember correctly. I just think he looked good running the ball, sorry. But I think Cade Crawford really just shined the brightest for me. Ashford looked good. He'll make very key plays in district, in a very hard district. But I just was kind of blown away by the catches in traffic that Crawford made when he got the ball thrown to him.
100%. Cool.
All right. With that being said, we will now move on into one of my personal favorite segments that we do every week. Do they cover? So, Walker, we have made some executive decisions and we have expanded the Do They Cover list to 4 teams, 1 for each division, based on some feedback from you, the people. We will start with the 2 traditionals, DC and Parish. This week, does Dallas Christian cover? They are 39.5 point versus Dallas Covenant. Yes. I really almost said bet your house on it. I think this, I'm not going to say that because that's the tremendous jinx. Very confident in that. Don't overthink it.
Yeah, 100%. I think 39.5. I think that's a good spread. Give me DC.
Next game, does Parish cover minus 35.5 versus Bishop Lynch? I'm a little more hesitant here. Lynch can score the ball really well. The loss against Midland doesn't bode too well for them. I think that Lynch is going to score, but Parish is going to score more. 35.5. Yeah, give me Parish.
Wow. I'll go the opposite of you. I'll go Lynch in this one. I think I do kind of don't like that Parish is off a bye, rested and going into this one. But I'm gonna see. Is it at home? Where is it at? Let's look.
I want to say it's at Parish. Let me look.
I got it. Parish. Okay, it's at Bishop Lynch. I'm gonna say at home, Bishop Lynch. They're gonna cover the spread.
Perfect. Yeah, I do like that. A little bit of duality here. Moving into the new bloods in this segment, Liberty Christian. Does Liberty Christian cover? This might be the most useful outside of DC in this segment, because I don't know if outside of All Saints, if any of these games are going to be even worth in-depth analysis. Liberty is a 34.5 point favorite versus Fort Worth Christian. Yes, no brainer. I'd take this as high as like 50 points.
Yeah, they besides one, which was a 31-0 win against the Episcopal School of Dallas, every team they at least scored 48 on. And yeah, so give me Argyle Liberty.
Moving into the last team that we will ask, a team that's honestly one of my personal favorites in the state. Does Dallas First Baptist cover? First Baptist is a 9.5-point versus Munster Sacred Heart. Yes, absolutely, they cover the spread.
C. Yes, it will. Sorry, C isn't Spanish. Yes. Yes, they will cover
Say it in Chinese.
Sh.
Sure.
Sure.
I'm gonna start doing my do they cover segments in Chinese. I'm just gonna learn yes and no, and then just do that.
Sh is yes, boo is no. You're welcome. You're welcome, everyone.
I like that a lot. Boo, no. Okay, so that being said, that is our do they cover segment. Now we will move on into the TXPS power rankings, and guess what? They're the exact same as last week. Everyone in the top 10 win. So there is no reason in our minds to move anyone down. I'm sure we're going to see a lot of this shakeup come district. So probably the last easy week on our part for power rankings. But Walker, very quickly, anything of note to say, or any future projections based on the power rankings?
I'm excited for a couple games. Does Regis is going to probably roll through district, but First Baptist, when they come play Lubbock Christian in a couple weeks, does that move them out or do they stay in? It's gonna be interesting to watch there. St. John's, let's talk about this. We'll talk about it in a second, of course. But if St. John's beat EHS, where do they go up into the ranks? That's gonna be hard to find. Does EHS, how far do they drop? It's gonna be interesting because after one loss to St. John's, do you move them all the way down to 10? You can't, right? So
but you'd have to have St. John's jump them, which again we're speculating, but that would, like I said, SPC 4A is always chaos. It's going to be very interesting to see.
100%.
But that being said, we will revisit our power rankings after some inevitable chaos this week. And we will jump into our 5 games of the week, but not before we have a word from High Point Signs and Apparel. Walker, you see the hat on my head.
I love it.
Designed by us, made by High Point Signs and Apparel. None of this, our merch line would have been even close to possible without them. And like I've said before, you look at a project as daunting as designing your own apparel line, and you're like, this is going to be a monster to get done. There's no way I can work with somebody to execute the vision that I have. Well, High Point does it, and they do it very, very well. I can't say enough about how seamless the process was, how great the people there were. Listen, overall, they don't miss deadlines. They provide exceptional customer service. We're living testaments to that. We had a ton of calls and meetings with them. Everything is super efficient. They will meet or beat any price that you have. They also create online stores that can provide your employees with apparel, or they can be profit centers, just like we set up to sell our merch. They're fantastic. They do it the right way, and they're just overall fantastic. We love High Point Science and Apparel. Walker Lott, you have anything to say about the great folks over at High Point Science and Apparel?
Yeah, you talked about earlier the chaos that SBC 4A brings. Who doesn't bring chaos at all? High Point Signs and Apparel. And they were very easy to work with. Like you said, it was awesome to use them. And we're excited to continue to use them for other apparel lines down the line. Special thanks to them. Hey, guys, district's right around the corner. If you win district and you want to do a district champion shirt, reach out to them. Playoffs are coming around. If you want to do shirts for them, reach out to them. Signs or anything else for your schools, your lawns, anything you need for your businesses galore, definitely go reach out to High Point Signs and Apparel.
Exactly. Shout out to High Point Signs and Apparel. All of their links are in the show notes and our description. Please click that, check them out, schedule a consultation with them. They are absolutely fantastic. So thank you to High Point Signs and Apparel for sponsoring this episode. All righty, we are here for our games of the week that we will pick, joined by a special guest, SBC analyst Jack Klosek. Jack, I'm very happy that I'm in the habit of saying your name right, since it was Klosek for like 3 months, but I'm glad that I can get that right. Also, how are you doing? What have you been up to in New York?
Wes, thank you as always for having me. It's an honor to be included on this podcast. New York is good. I'm working with the football team now, doing game day operations and such, which is a lot of fun. Really, just as Walker can attest to, working with TWCA, getting to work with an athletic department, especially at the Division I level, has been a huge blessing up here. And then I've been enjoying doing some more original content this year. I've been doing a couple previews for SBC games, and then joining on the weekly Texas private school space on Friday night. So I've been a contributor to most of those. But it's good to be back on the recorded portion of this, as I haven't done it since about August. So happy to be here.
Absolutely. It's a fun time. Jack, I noticed some Good Kid, Mad City and also some Beatles on your wall. I really appreciate the taste. I will pose you a question. I mentioned at the top of the episode that if anyone can guess the name of that album back there behind me, I don't know if you can see it, they're going to get a free TXPS hat. Any just shot in the dark at what that might be?
It's not a Tribe Called Quest, right?
No, it's not. This is a good. I mean, it's not. The guess isn't close, but I do respect the Tribe guess.
I didn't know it, so I had no idea.
I'll be honest. I don't think you'll get it. What decade do you think it's from?
90s.
Close, not quite. I'll give it. It's late 60s for anyone that wants a close.
Really?
Yes. It's yeah. I'm the only reason I'm wagering this hat on it is because I'm very sure that nobody will get it, and it's I'll reveal the next episode most likely.
We have a lot of parents out
it's
there,
not like,
so
it's not like Jefferson Airplane or something like that.
No, it's not. I'm not even entirely sure what that is, and that's hard to stump on stuff like that. So
that's like a band my grandparents listen to. In full honesty, I got to give shout out to my roommate. Those are his albums. He plays football at Columbia, so got to give a shout out to my man Patrick. He's got good taste.
He's fantastic music taste. I love me some good Kid Mad City. That being said, This isn't a music critique podcast, although we might make that pivot at some point. I wouldn't mind that. This is a private school picks podcast, and we will start with Midland at Fort Worth All Saints. Fort Worth All Saints is a 16.5-point favorite in this one. A huge matchup to kick off the District of Doom. Midland will take the long bus ride to the 817 to face the Saints. Midland has rebounded nicely after an 0-3 start, knocking off 6A Del Rio before a minor upset of Bishop Lynch last Friday. Senior quarterback Colton Newsom is as tough as nails, and between him, Briley Perez, and Keller Weathers, this Midland rushing attack is as primed as ever. Brady Young and Mason Hoosier are weapons as well in the defensive end, making a living in the opponent's backfield. All Saints suffered their first loss versus 4A Anna last week, but have been impressive on the year thus far. Listen, junior quarterback Keldon Ryan is a star. The Hokie commit becomes superhuman with the ball in his hands, and he will be a threat every single play on Friday. You match that with Reed Watkins, Dougie Doddard, and Elijah Johnson, and I think Fort Worth All Saints is going to put up some numbers on a Mustang defense that's allowing 36 points per game up to this point on the season. Give me All Saints in this game. Walker Lott, your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm going to go All Saints here too. I think the spread is a good spread. I really like Briley Perez and Colton Newsom from Midland, and I think they're a good squad. Knocking off Bishop Lynch last week is a good win. But I just think this Fort Worth All team is too talented. Midland has to drive all the way to Fort Worth to come play this game, and Fort Worth All Saints at home is good. I think Keldon Ryan coming into district with everyone else, and guys, you didn't even mention guys like Quamont Williams and others. Like, they have a good squad, man, and I'm excited to see how this team does. And go All Saints, Saints.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's going to be interesting. You can never really count out the Midland grit, but I think All Saints has just a ton of talent. Jack Klosek, Midland at Fort Worth All Saints. Midland may be suffering some bus fatigue in this matchup. Your thoughts on the game?
Yeah, you brought it up. I can tell you, somebody played in SBC, had to travel up to Dallas. It's not easy to take that bus ride. Whether you're going from Midland to Dallas, or you're going from Houston to East Texas, or Houston to Dallas, or Austin to Houston, and so on and so forth. I got All Saints. They're a very talented team. Coach Beck does a great job with that program. All Saints has been, by far and away the better team in most of their games, and they've shown they can go to other states. They smoked Holland Hall and even kept it competitive with Anna. And I'm not sure there are many teams outside of maybe Episcopal or Parish Episcopal that could keep it close with Anna. They only lost by 18. That's a very respectable performance against a tough public school. But give me All Saints. They have a chip on their shoulder after losing to Fort Bend in the championship, and they showed last year they just came out of nowhere and beat Liberty Christian. They're going to be a force to be reckoned with in the playoffs. Give me All Saints.
I like that pick. We're all three on All Saints. Actually, I don't like that pick because, good Lord, if Midland wins this game after we all three picked them, that's going to be a social media fill-in-the-blank storm. That's going to be wild. But that being said, we will move on into our next matchup, Episcopal at St. John's. Episcopal is a 19.5-point favorite. Can't really think of anyone better to preview this game than SBC analyst Jack Klosek. So, Jack, EHS at St. John's, what are we going to expect on Friday night?
You are going to see a more competitive performance than St. John's last year. I know coming into this game, last year Episcopal had lost to ESD, and St. John's had beaten St. Mark's, and St. John's had a chance to eliminate Episcopal. And that game just meant more to Episcopal. They just ran all over them, blitzed them. I think it was a 41-7 final. It was at Episcopal. It was like the KPRC game of the week. And just, from having friends on that Episcopal team, that game just meant more to them. If you remember in 2021, Episcopal actually lost to St. John's for the first time in a decade at St. John's. That was a major upset. While St. John's is as good, if not better, than this past year, Episcopal just has completely reloaded. Brandon Thomas, Carson Gordon, Braylon Thompson, Billy Wheelis, not Hutch Coward. Billy Wheelis, Cullen Witt, and even newer guys like Madden Morgan and last name is Sosarski. Maybe is it Tyler Sosarski?
Yeah, Tyler Sosarski.
Tyler Sosarski. Episcopal's by far and away been the better team just in 5 of their 6 games so far, just not even competitive outside of Parish. And even with Stephen Gill, Michael Murphy, Logan Donnelly, Cole Allen just obliterating the field on offense and putting up ridiculous numbers, and Coach Kevin Veltri, former Kinkaid offensive coordinator, and just has done wonders there. I just think St. John's defense is not there yet. Coach McKay is great, was my freshman baseball coach at Kinkaid alum, was the defensive line coach at Kinkaid for 6-7 years. He's the defensive coordinator there. He told me that they were going to have some growing pains. They have a young defense, and they've matured as the season went on, from giving up, 63 points to St. Thomas in week 1. But I see more of a shootout. Type scenario similar to St. Thomas, but because Episcopal is a better defense overall than St. Thomas, I got Episcopal. And while I'll never root for the blue school, and I got a little bit of I'll never root for the red school either. But since there are 4 coaches on staff who went to Kinkaid or coached at Kinkaid, it'll be so cool to see Episcopal get them this year, but I just don't see it happening quite yet. I think that St. John's will be more competitive in this game. It's not going to be an absolute blowout. I think St. John's offense will have its moments, but Episcopal should take care of this one. And the madness that is SBC 4A will continue. That's just where I see it. Episcopal is just too strong this year, even with St. John's having the best team that they may have had in the past 20, 30 years. I think Episcopal gets it done by I'll go 2 touchdowns on Friday, at least 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, I like your mention, Jack, of still never being able to root for the blue school or red school. You're in good company here. I like Brook Hill's program a lot and the guys they brought in, but I can never, especially if they're playing Grace, can never root for them, even though it's still a great program. Don't come at us, Brook Hill. But yeah, I have to agree with you. EHS is on an absolute warpath. The spread is 19.5 here. I don't know. I think St. John's defense is going to give up points. They looked impressive in games like Second Baptist and Fort Bend, giving up only 7 and 15 points there. Granted, those teams, are down this year, but I think that I think St. John's will score. I just think EHS is going to score a lot more in this game. It's going to there's almost nobody in the state that can stop EHS, and I don't think St. John's going to be able to do it. Give me Episcopal. Walker Lott.
Yeah, I was at this matchup last year when it was at EHS, and it was a good one, but I think the Episcopal defensive line kind of did not let Stephen Gill have any time last year, and I think the offensive line for St. John's is much better this year, and I think they're a good squad. They're a really, really good squad, and I think their offense is going to score points, but like kind of what we're all saying, I think the defense for St. John's is just not as good as it needs to be to compete with a team like Bellaire Episcopal. So give me EHS in this one. I think, like I've been saying all year, I think Carson Gordon is going for that large school player of the year title right now, and he is not stopping. And yeah, this is just going to be another one in his belt of a big win over St. John's. But this also could be the preview for the SBC 4A state championship this year. So it could be one to watch.
Yeah, it very well could. It's going to be interesting. As we mentioned several times this episode already, 4A is always chaos in SBC. We're going to get a few weeks in, and there's going to be so many tiebreaker rules we're going to be trying to pull out of the sky to compare teams. I think it'll be a fun time. But that being said, we will move on into our next game to preview. Houston Christian at Cypress Christian. Cypress is a 8.5-point favorite in this one. A very interesting non-district contest will take place Friday as Houston Christian takes on the Warriors of Cypress. Cypress is led in large part by junior running back John Kelly, a true Division I prospect, and for good reason if you turn on the tape. Houston Christian recently emerged as the front runners for SPC 3A, and behind Kilchrist, Mallory, Pigeon, and Ellie Stewart, it's easy to see why. This game is interesting to me for this reason. I think if Cypress comes out and wins this game, they could establish themselves as a viable threat to Dallas Christian in Division III. On the flip side, if Houston Christian dominates this matchup, I think they can show they're clearly in the driver's seat for SVC 3A. It's interesting. I like this game not because of these two teams matching up against each other, but what it means for both of them moving forward. It's incredibly interesting. I think if you just look a little bit beyond the surface in this game, it can tell you so much about the landscapes of Division III and SBC 3A. That's just my opinions. All that being said, I've got to take Houston Christian here. I'm not doing myself really any favorites with Cypress. I do like Cypress Christian, despite what some people think. I like Cypress Christian a lot. It's a great culture. John Kelly, Zeke Hogan, guys like that are fantastic for this team. I just think after watching Houston Christian, they are so much better than people give them credit for. Kilchrist, like I've said, Johnny Manziel is a lazy comparison for quarterbacks that can run and throw and just are gritty. It's who Kilchrist plays like, man. I am a huge fan of him. I'm a huge fan of everyone on that team. Give me Houston Christian to win this game.
I like that. For Mike, I have a question for you, Wes. How good was the run defense for Houston Christian against TBS?
It was a little suspect, mostly in part because of how good TVS's running back looked. And that's an interesting point, Walker. John Kelly is going to be an even better running back than that. So I think it could be closer than we think.
Because I'm trying to think in my head, because I think the three tandem combination of Kelly, Hayduck, and Brody Johnson as the three running back tandem, at least those are the ones that played against LSA. I think Hayduck and John Kelly are going to get, 20 carries each this game. And I think that's going to help the offense is going to be going through. If Houston Christian can stop the run, which, they might have not been able to do fully against TVS, I might take Cypress here, but I'm going to take Houston Christian here because of the opposite. If they're able to stop the run, and I know it was only one game, so I could be wrong, but the passing attack for Cypress was just not there when I watched them against LSA. Yeah, it was just not the greatest I've ever seen. And with the DBs that Houston Christian has with Jordan Ellie Stewart and others, I just don't think they're going to be able to pass the ball on this Houston Christian team. And Houston Christian is going to score a lot of points. They're very good. I think, Cypress has a great defense. I think Maximus Suppley, the defensive lineman, the edge rusher, he's going to be a great player with Jacob Rauch and others. But I really think they're going to be able to pass the ball on this defense. So I'm going to take Houston Christian in this one. But if Cypress is able to run the ball, they're going to make me regret my pick. So it's going to be interesting to watch.
I think so for sure. Jack Klosek, an SBC team and a TAPS team face off. Are you going to do what I expect you to do, or are you going to go against the grain?
No, give me Houston Christian. I actually don't think it's as close as you guys are making it out to be. I think Cypress Christian has taken a step back. They haven't fared against even I think they lost to Hallettsville. They lost to, I want to say maybe Paradise or Lexington. I think it was Paradise.
And Troy.
They lost to Paradise. They lost to Troy. It's tough when you play the game like, this team would have beat that team. But I just think with Houston Christian's offense, they would have beaten at least two or three. Hallettsville is a good team. They beat Central Catholic, so I'm not really going to go to bat for that. But those smaller 3A, 2A schools that Cypress Christian was losing to, I think the only one they beat is Milano. I got Houston Christian. I think their offense is too powerful, and you got to look at it. They beat Trinity Valley. I think I would take Trinity Valley over Cypress Christian. They scored 28 points against St. John's after last year losing, I think 56-14 or something like that.
Yeah.
They've won every other game. They beat Lutheran South pretty handedly. Country Day and Cypress Christian would probably be a pretty good game. The comparison that we've used is right. TAPS 3A TAPS Division 3, Division 4 is kind of akin to SBC 3A. So that's kind of the measuring stick that I use, albeit it's not a perfect one. But give me Houston Christian. I'm a huge fan of what they're doing over there. I think when you have a quarterback like Brett Kilchrist and you run a system like Coach Clayton Webb, who's their offensive coordinator, does, where you're running the run and shoot, which uses a lot of staple air raid concepts, and you're running mesh, you're running Y cross, or you're passing the ball, you're throwing the ball, you're going up tempo. That's tough. That's tough to compete with, especially because Cypress Christian runs the ball. They don't have that passing attack to keep up with it. Give me Houston Christian. I think this is going to be a good game for them. I think it's probably going to be the best competition they play the rest of the way until they face what I believe to be Trinity Valley again. Because think about who they have left. They have Cistercian, they have Oak Ridge, and they have Cooper. Yeah. They're going to kill Cistercian. They're going to kill Oak Ridge. They got to make sure that they're on top of it because, if you take a team lightly, they can come and get you. If they take Cooper lightly, Cooper will make that game interesting. Last year, if you remember, Houston Christian made that game interesting for John Cooper. I'm not saying that maybe they took it lightly or not, but last year's Cooper team should have beat Houston Christian a lot worse than they did last year. Yeah. But, when you look at it, this is probably the best team, in my opinion, that they're going to face till they face Trinity Valley. So, with what they're doing, with what I can see, their coaching staff, seems like that they've upgraded from maybe when I was playing Houston Christian. Like when I played Houston Christian, they had different coaches there. And actually 2 coaches from Houston Christian came over and were coaching my team. They left Houston Christian, came to Kinkaid. So I just don't see I see them taking this game very seriously, especially because they lost to Cypress Christian last year. Like I keep hammering the point, and I'm going to continue to do it. Houston Christian went 3-7 last year. They lost to Lutheran South last year. They lost to Trinity Valley last year. They lost to Oak Ridge last year. They lost to Cistercian last year. These are teams that they got payback against, and obviously some of those teams have declined. But Houston Christian's going to be coming to play. This is their last real chance because, you can work on stuff against an Oak Ridge or a Cistercian, but it doesn't simulate what kind of game you're going to get against Trinity Valley. And for those reasons, I got to take Houston Christian, and I think they win by a couple touchdowns.
Yeah, I think so as well. I mean, if you want to use some transitive property here, which I, warn against, it's not applicable in football, but sometimes it's the best we have. Cypress Christian beat Lutheran South 35-12. Houston Christian beat Lutheran South 35-16. So not a perfect measuring stick, but if that's the only one you want to use, you would assume that the 2 teams are pretty equal. We will see if that plays out on Friday. Moving into the next game to preview, that is Parish at Bishop Lynch. Parish is a 35.5-point favorite. You may ask yourself why we're previewing a game between 2 teams below 500. Regardless of records, both of these teams still have some incredible talent. It's funny I'm saying that about Parish, as if Parish doesn't have some of the best talent in the state every year. Yep. But this will be a great matchup to kick off TAPS Division I nevertheless. Parish isn't the tidal wave of death that they were last year, but losses to Aledo, Episcopal, and Sauk can certainly be excused. The Sawyer-Anderson to Hutch Crow connection has been one of the best duos in the state thus far, and with Maddox Reed in the mix, it's safe to say that Parish has their 3-headed monster. Defensively, Caleb Mitchell-Irving, if he's ready to go, and Ty Whitty make for a formidable front, and guys like DC Crane in the back end will have to step up against a very good Lynch receiving core. As I mentioned against DC, it looked very impressive. As for Lynch, Godswill Giudolor is the motor of this offense, one of the toughest runners in the state. He is a load to bring down, and he will test this Parish front, certainly. Add in Legend Howell slinging the rock to Ty Bradley and PJ Washington, and I think Lynch is going to have a great opportunity to move the ball Friday night. However, I think Lynch's defense lacks the capability to stop the multitude of weapons that Parish's offense boasts, which is why I'm taking the Panthers to get the win here. Listen, people are going to see the matchup, Parish versus Bishop Lynch, the spread, Parish minus 35.5, and say Parish is just going to come out, dispose of Lynch with no problem. And it's funny, I picked Parish to cover the spread, but I will caution against this. Lynch's offense is good, and I've been saying for a few weeks that Lynch's offense can move the ball on Parish when they play. Will they? That's a whole nother story. But I love Ty Bradley. I love Legend Howell. I love Godswill Giudolor, and I love PJ Washington, even though he didn't perform to the expectation that I assumed against DC. I still think he has the potential to be one of the best slot receivers in the state. But that is a long-winded way of saying that I think Parish is going to win this game. Walker Lott, what are your thoughts on the matchup?
Yeah, this is a good one. I'll go Parish. I think it's going to be I think it's going to be a good matchup, and I'm really excited to see this game go. I think you're right. I think Lynch is going to score a lot of points, and if their defense can hold them, we could be on upset alert. But I I think the offense for Parish is going to be a little too much, and I think that they're going to score a lot of points, and it's just going to be interesting to see if Lynch can back that up and match them in points. So, but yeah, give me Parish in this. I think it's a good game. And I think Lynch is not going to go away quietly, but I think Parish is going to be formidable in district like they always are. It's going to be interesting to watch.
Absolutely. Jack Klosek, your picks on the game.
So I think one thing that Lynch falls victim to is they're a good team that plays a really tough non-district schedule.
Sure.
You're playing LD Bell, which is a 6A program. Salina is a powerhouse. Liberty, you're playing DC, and then they beat I think Newman International Academy, which is I guess some sort of charter school, and then tough loss to Midland Christian, right? So Legend Howell is the real deal, and then Parish took a step back. They also play a really tough non-district schedule, but they got a win against China Spring, which is a good win for them. Went kind of toe-to-toe with Alito for most of it. I mean, South Oak Cliff just killed them and went toe-to-toe with Episcopal. But I don't know. I think if you replay that game versus Episcopal, I think maybe you have a different result. It's tough to beat a team twice. I mean, those are two pretty evenly matched teams. But give me Parish. I still think that Sawyer Anderson, the Hutch Crow connection, Caleb Mitchell Irving, They have a lineman who's really good. I think his first name is Sam. Yeah, love his film. And Coach Novikov, who's actually a St. Mark's alum, has done such a great job with that program. I think Lynch has closed the gap a bit, but not enough to where this game is anything close to upset alert, in my opinion. I think Parish gets it done by 3 touchdowns or so.
So that being said, that actually leads into this. What I was going to ask you. Parish is a 35.5-point favorite in this game. Me and Walker gave our picks on the spread earlier. What are your thoughts? Parish minus 35.5.
I don't know if they cover. It's tough. Winning by 5 touchdowns is tough. You kind of have to, for me to feel comfortable making that, if I were a betting man, for me to feel comfortable, I'd need a matchup Second Baptist Episcopal this year or Nolan Catholic Episcopal. I'd need something like that. I don't know if Parish covers this time. Could I see them going out there and going scorched earth on Lynch? Absolutely. I could. Wouldn't shock me if they go out there and win 49-7. Just that's sometimes how cookie crumbles. I wasn't. I'll give you an example. Last week I picked St. John's to beat St. Mark's, but winning 49-7, I wasn't sure if I was expecting that.
Yeah, it's always interesting. Picking the spreads makes you get a little out of your comfort zone sometimes, but that's the fun part. By the way, annual or episodic disclaimer: we don't make the spreads. Someone will always, forget to realize that, and I have to say that every episode. Do not chirp me if a spread is crazy wrong and you cover the spread. We don't make spreads. This is not financial advice. Any disclaimer you want to post on the board. We don't make the spreads. That being said, we will move into the final game to analyze, and objectively the best game. There's no argument. Grapevine Faith at Grace Community School. It's not Tyler Grace. It's Grace Community. Grace Community is a 2.5-point favorite in this matchup, and we will be treated to a contest with district title implications to Open District Friday night at Clyde Perkins Stadium. Grace has swept their non-district slate for the 2nd straight year, but last year was stomped by Faith 50-6 in their district opener. First-year signal caller Zach Davis will look to reverse the script on Faith, and behind him, Grant Turner and JT Williams, a Grace offense averaging over 50 points a game, will look to exploit a Faith unit giving up 41. Grace's defense has performed as well on the season, allowing only 17 points a game, and it's easy to see why with linebackers Blake Harmon and Dylan Taylor knocking heads. However, the best player on the field will most likely be the Air Force commit Clayton Sebecki on Friday. The running back turned quarterback for Faith is arguably the most dynamic playmaker in the division, and it's almost impossible to contain him when he gets the ball in his hands. If we want to do some transitive property work, Faith beat Brook Hill 42-21 to open the season. Grace only beat Brook Hill 23-19 in a game that Brook Hill led into the fourth quarter and had me sweating a lot. A smart analyst would take this and say that, along with the result last year, Faith will take care of business in this game. But I'm no smart analyst. If you think for half a second I will ever pick against Grace Community, you have another thing coming. Don't look at anything I've said in the past. I've never picked against Grace Community, never in my life. Grace Community is going to come out and show this is not the same team as last year. It's going to sweep non-district and get blasted by Faith. They're going to come out, make a statement win on Friday night, and prove that this division is going to be theirs. This district, excuse me, I'm getting ahead of myself. That being said, Grace Community, Grace Community, Grace Community. I ride and die for the Cougars. Walker Lott, your thoughts?
You will be on scene for this one, right? I believe you will.
Absolutely.
The former Grace player coming back home, where he's had some good memories, had some bad memories at that stadium, and
Maurice Washington, shout out.
Yeah, shout out to him. And I think this is going to be another bad memory for Wes Tolleson. Give me Grapevine Faith. It's just going to be another bad memory, and he's going to have to haunt this forever. It's going to be haunting him forever. And you know who's going to haunt him in his dreams and the rest of that Grace Community squad? Mr. Clayton Sebecki, Air Force commit, and Bill Wagner and company. They look good. They look solid, and they're going to show how they still, even with all the people doubted him, they're going to still run that district. So give me Grapevine Faith. Wes is throwing things. He's angry. Hopefully that it, inspires Tyler Grace to play a good, solid squad. But give me Grapevine Faith.
I hope you heard what he just said.
But yeah, give me Grapevine Faith. I think this will be a fun one. Not jokes aside, I think this is gonna be a fun one. I think it's gonna be a good game. But I'm gonna take the Division I prospect in Clayton Sebecki and the rest of that squad who has had some good games and tough games these past couple of weeks, and I think they get it done here.
I'm not justifying that comment with a response. Jack Klosek, your picks on the game.
I'm going to take a little bit of a more holistic approach on this one.
Oh,
So
yes.
when we look at strength of schedule, Grace Community doesn't play a lot of good teams. I mean, Lone Oak, Winona, Spring Hill. You can feast against those. Those are 3A, 4A, 3A or 4A. Not great East Texas teams. You're not playing Carthage. You're not playing Pleasant Grove. You're not playing Kilgore or Lindale or Lumberton or so on and so forth. But at the same time, you can play a tougher non-conference, as Grapevine Faith maybe did. But when you're losing to Liberty 56-7 or even ESD 37-0, it's kind of hard for me to pick you too.
I understand.
So, and then we got to factor in this game is at Grace, correct?
It is.
Grace has that home field advantage, and that trek from the Metroplex to Tyler is tough. We got to quantify bus fatigue. But Grace is riding high, even when you're not playing against good teams. There's something about playing and beating public schools that I find translates to private schools. There's something about it because it's it's special. It's different. It's not something that always happens. And even though maybe on paper you give the slight edge to Faith, I don't see it. Faith losing to ESD 37-0. I'm not saying ESD. Comparing ESD and Grace, kind of apples to oranges, but I'm going to side with Wes Tolleson. Give me Grace Community. I can't pick a team that's 2-3 and you've just gotten blown out in 2 of the last 3 games, and kind of a back and forth against Fort Worth Christian. It'll be a good game, but give me Grace Community.
Yeah, I agree with you. And being unbiased, I have been on record as saying the last 2 years, Grace's non-district schedule is awful. I mean, I honestly, at the end of the day, I'm more of a fan of the bad non-district schedule than the one that I played in high school with Parish Episcopal, with Malakoff, with
You played
Wascom when they
Malakoff?
were real good. I did. We played Malakoff my sophomore and junior year.
That's a tough
We
one.
almost, I think we almost beat them junior year, but
Wow.
but yeah, dude, like coming out of those 5 games, just either just in absolute wars, and then also something people don't realize, you get a lot of people banged up and hurt in games as physical as those. I don't know if I think for Grace, I would throw at least one more difficult team in there. But, you know, I think I'm a much bigger fan of playing even public schools of a lower quality than just having absolute wars against teams like Parish and Malakoff, et cetera. But that being said, it's going to be a great game regardless. I'm very excited for this. I think it's going to be fantastic. I think it's 2 teams that have district title aspirations, and only one can win on Friday. So it's going to be a very fun time. But that being said, guys, that is actually all the information that we have for this episode. Another fantastic week that we have previewed in private school ball. Going to be very excited to get out on the road on Friday, cover some dadgum games. So, Jack Klosek, first of all, thank you for joining us. Second of all, any closing thoughts before we end the episode?
No, thank you guys for having me. Just to quickly sum up, I'm just excited to see, you know, SBC 4A and 3A continue their district slates. Really excited to see who shakes out in the SBC championship. I think Episcopal is going to be there, but out of Kinkaid, Episcopal School of Dallas, and St. John's, curious to see who. I'm curious to see who makes it. I think it'll come down to the Kinkaid St. John's. I think it could come down to the Kinkaid St. John's game. But you know, I think Kinkaid's defense is real strong. That's not just the homer in me, but I can't ever pick against Kinkaid. But I'm excited to see how it shakes out. And you know, I love covering the other stuff too, like getting to pick Parish or Midland Christian or Grace Community and all that. I love keeping up on all of it. I run my own little Google Sheets where I pick, sometimes against myself, sometimes against David Cody. So looking forward to that. Looking forward to being a part of the Twitter Spaces, and you know, shoot, man, it's the beginning of October. We got 2 more months of this. I know SBC is only another month, but we got 2 more months of this, so I'm excited.
It's wild. It's wild how fast we're moving through the season. Walker, Lott, any closing thoughts before we get out of here?
It is Spooktober. I just realized that it is Spooktober. Great week. I'm excited for it. This is a good slate of games. We're finally getting the district time, so that's always fun. Should be down in Houston this week. Very excited about that. And yeah. Oh, definitely tune in to our Twitter Spaces on Friday nights. Very fun, a lot of fun, and you get to hear us talk about college football, and also a great rant about mascots in the state. That was a fun one. So, but yeah. I learned what a Highlander was, which embarrassed me greatly that I didn't understand what it was. It kind of took a knock to my ego, but it was a fun time. The spaces always end up inevitably delving into absolute just chaos towards the end of it, and we're all sleep deprived. So it's a fun time for sure. Make sure to tune into those every Friday night. But with all that being said, I have been 1/3 of your hosting crew, Wes Tolleson. Jack Klosek and Walker Lott have fantastically been themselves. We will see you in the next episode. See you later.
3, 2, 1.